Oh my fucking God, boys and girls. Weather report for November 30th, 2021.
By the way, Speed, there's a link, there's a lead in the private chat you should look at. Also, were the intros lagging for anyone else but me? I don't know. Just the intros were lagging for me.
Really?
Yes.
That looked pretty normal.
It was fine.
Yeah, I'll have to replay it later and see if it was lagging.
What? Living robots that could reproduce? Midnight?
Yes. What? Science,
motherfucker. Cool. We got a little video here that I have not listened to that Chris just gave us. Chris Peacock.
I think Chris Peacock.
It's amazing that me and Leo just put that together. Okay, you guys knew it all along, right?
I never knew. I didn't put that together.
Okay. See,
but apparently, just the way I emphasize things like that brought it out. So,
yeah.
Sorry, world.
Yeah. Okay, I already put.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Okay, this is
right.
1 minute and 13 seconds. Foreskin's not allowed.
All right. Well, go ahead.
Critics better read the technical papers, because if they want to try and rumble with us, then they better be up to date in order that they stop embarrassing themselves. Critics that are constantly posturing. We care about the truth. They dodge, they duck, they dip, they dive, and they dodge all over the place. It's sad. It really is, guys. They got decimated. We care about the truth. Lions don't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. We care about the truth. We can put on some really, really solid events, really professional, sophisticated debates. It's because we pride ourselves on being professional, being mature, being spiritually mature. Okay. That's why the spiritually immature, the spiritually dumb today, they aren't really growing in terms of ministry. They're incapable of scheduling anything of substance and any main events. They're really just exhibiting and manifesting the works of the flesh. I really am embarrassed for them. We strive to be professional and sophisticated here, unlike other channels that are crumbling. I was cracking up. They're being decimated, but they don't actually know. We care about the truth.
Oh my God. That guy. What is wrong with that guy?
Everything is wrong with that guy, including you. I don't know.
Yeah. With the shit he says, it's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Anyway. So what the hell? So anybody want to talk about intentionality?
No, I want to talk about robots, living robots.
You do?
Do we have any cool graphics to help us understand better?
I think we do. I don't know. We do. Yeah, there it is. Can I do this? No, can't do that. Can do this. Can do that. There. God damn. So speed of sound is right in the middle of that. Anyway. So
you can remove the names in the side options. It's at the bottom.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
It's a little button that at the bottom of all the banners, I think.
Oh, okay. For a virtual camera?
Oh no, the StreamYard.
On StreamYard. You mean the little dot thing? Edit names?
It's a circle and it's like a little slide. Just two options.
Nope. Not seeing it.
Not seeing it. Where you set your background and stuff on StreamYard.
Oh, on banners, brand.
Yeah, it's at the bottom, or something like that.
Anyway, well, fuck it.
It's just display name, I think.
Yeah. So let's see here. So this is intention and extension of terms. So it's kind of like connotation and denotation, though some authors will insist that that they're different, that sort of thing. But like, well, if I may, I think the best thing to do is this. Hang on a second. Okay, so in set theory, an extension of a set would be if you basically drew the set out, right? Like I want to list all the mammals in the world, and I'm going to put Scott and Midnight and
Gibbs.
Rover.
No, his name's Gibbs.
Gibbs, your dog?
Yeah, I'm scratching his ear right now.
Okay, Gibbs, etc. So anyway, an extension basically would be listing out every single mammal in the world, that exists, and or possibly every mammal that ever existed or ever will exist, that sort of thing, right? So that becomes a very big process to write it out, right? So an intention would be just saying mammals, and you would just write out, whatever mammals means by definition would be the set of all mammals. So that would be the intention of the set. So intention, but then there's a whole bunch of things you can do with intentions. Like you could talk about possible worlds, like all mammals that could possibly exist, like unicorns. So it's possible that in reality, we have these mammals, but in an intention of mammals, we would have unicorns and we'd have all sorts of things that we could imagine. So that's kind of the difference. An intention of a set is normally called a comprehension in programming. And let me see if I can pop that up. Yeah, I think I can. Hang on a second. With the iPad. Okay, so this is a list comprehension in programming, which is an intention. So what you do is you write a little tiny program that gives you all of the it gives you the instructions for creating the set. So I for I in sentence, if it is a consonant, then you return it. So it would give you all the consonants in a sentence, basically. Okay. Now, if I said I for I in a sentence, it would give you every single letter in the sentence, right? If I cut out this part, if I cut out the if part, but now if I added is consonant, what it's going to do is when you add properties to intentions, you make the set smaller and smaller. Like if I said list all mammals, and then I said with brown fur and with long hair or long fur and with what else can we do? With tusks, and now so as you add to an intention, it gets smaller. But if you add to an extension, it gets bigger. So you're extending the set. So that's the difference between extending a set and intentioning a set, basically, or comprehending a set. So it's called a list comprehension. This language here is Python, and that's how you'd create a new list of something. Basically, you could say I for I in 1 to 100. If is odd I, it would give you all the odd numbers, that sort of thing. So anyway, does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, ask questions.
It makes sense. It's a set of something.
Yeah.
And then
So,
you did a loop there that created a set of consonants.
Yep. Yeah, and then there's more. So then when you go to semantics, okay, if you have
can I put it in like in other words, so just to make sure I'm thinking right about it?
Yes.
So an intention is basically a set that describes a larger number of instances of things. It's a category or class. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So
let's take a look at this logic thing again here. And let me pop that up. Oh. Okay. So this thing, basically class members or extensions would be, particulars like Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell. An inventor basically is a connotation. So an inventor is somebody who's clever, intuitive, creative, and imaginative. So with an extension, you have to laboriously lay out everything that's in the set, right? So you'd have to think of every single inventor that there is. But if you have an intention, it is understood to be all of the inventors that ever were or ever will be, that sort of thing. So an intention can be broader. But then if you said all of the inventors that lived in the 19th century, if you added to that intention, if you add properties to the intention, you're going to make the set smaller and smaller and smaller. But if you on the left, if you add to the extension, you're going to make the set bigger and bigger and bigger.
So you're creating a level of or two of abstraction with with your new set that thus renders the other set less concrete.
More.
Well, it doesn't do anything to the other set. It creates a new set, but for us, it.
You mean if you're adding to an intention?
Yeah. I'm just thinking in terms of what does it get you to do that to a set? What's the advantage? I know there is one, but you're stating it as
you're narrowing it down. You're narrowing it down.
Seems like something more accurate.
Well, yeah, more narrowed down.
Yeah.
So you get down to the point with things with mammals with floppy ears, mammals with brown hair, mammals with long snouts, whatever. You keep narrowing
redundancy
it down.
from the well. I don't want to mess up terms. It's a set with less redundancy, I think, because in that original set you're naming specifics that apply to every instance of a class.
Yep.
So
now and then what they did is in semantics, which is, the meaning of sentences and words, they took that idea of intention and extension and they did some more work with it, right? And so basically we would have Lois, has like a context of being Lois, right? So you have an intention here. And she has a thought that Superman can fly. So Superman can fly. This is how you write that out. Okay, this is the noun and this is what it does. So this is called a predicate. So Superman can fly. And she would leave out. So that would be her set of superheroes that could fly. So this is Lois. And she is in a particular context, right? But now if you had the cousin from Krypton, so this is the Krypton cousin right here, and he has a different context, and he knows.
No, Superman's cousin is a female from Krypton.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
That's where we get Supergirl from.
Okay, so his set of superheroes that can fly would include Clark Kent. So from his point of view, you could switch out Clark Kent with Superman. If you said Superman can fly, he would also think that Clark Kent can fly. But Lois would only think that Superman can fly because she doesn't know, because Superman's a dick and he never told his girlfriend who he was, right? So she would think just that. She would have a limited set here. So it's almost the opposite. Well, it's interesting, but anyway, so it has to do with what you believe, what you know, what you think. Words like that tend tend to put you in this intentional context where you would have a different idea, like Venus is the morning star or the evening star or whatever, depending on what you knew. If you knew that Venus was both of those things, then your intention of that set would be basically both of those things, right? Am I confusing this? So if you said Venus is the morning star, okay, for one person,
Mm-hmm.
it would be true. He knows that Venus is the morning star. Okay, for another person, if you said Venus is the morning star, you could switch out Venus as the evening star, and he would know that they were both the same, right? But for the first person, the second statement would appear false, that Venus is not the evening star, that sort of thing. Class Superman, public man, bull can fly, return true. Okay, Icarus. Yep.
Great. That's a great class, man. Great class.
Anyway, but that's a different meaning of intention and extension than we have in set theory. And set theory, I think it's a little more precise. And then when you get to semantics, so what they're talking about is you've got an intentional statement of some sort, and you have terms that you could substitute out that will, even though those terms refer to the same thing out in the world, Superman is the same as Clark Kent. Basically, if you swap them out with an intentional statement for a particular person, they'll be either true or false, that sort of thing. And that's just one way to look at it, but there's all sorts of other little nuances that you get into. And there's an incredibly complicated mathematics called intentional logic, where they go even further. And I think they go too far. So anyway, so what I was having trouble with is understanding how natural selection is intentional. And that's a whole other can of worms, which we're not going to get into today. But anyways, so you understand intention and extension in terms of set theory, Scott? Top dog?
I believe I do.
Where the fuck's midnight?
Midnight, you there?
I just blink and midnight's gone. What the fuck?
He's been gone since the beginning, I think.
Really? When did he leave?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what that guy did. I don't understand why he does it. Why he does.
I'm glad Top Dog's still here.
Yeah. What the hell? Anyway. Yeah, so where's David today?
I don't know. Hopefully he's not like trapped in his office, wrapped in duct tape that his granddaughter has wrapped him in.
Superman at work would be different to his muffing wife? Motherfucking wife?
Yeah, but Guerrero just basically took hold on. Stephanie's statement and add MFing to it.
MFing, yeah.
And of course he left out he left ellipsis in, so I don't know what his point is.
Yeah, I don't know either. Gur's, he's he's obviously
he's a troubled man. He's a troubled man.
Troubled man, yeah.
He's a troubled young man.
Yeah. Well, it has to do with who he hangs out with. He hangs out with some pretty bad people.
Yeah.
What his wife?
He has poor judgment in his choice of peer.
Yep. Anyway, that's all I care to say about that. I think
that's all I've got to say about that.
Well, in the afternoon, I really don't give a fuck anymore, to tell you the truth.
Do we now want to name off all the different kinds of shrimp there is?
Here's Peter. So the difference between an intentional context and an essential one has to do with substitution of the truth values. Yeah, that's kind of what it said. So if you have an intentional statement, okay.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, if you substitute out something which refers to exactly the same thing in some context, you're going to end up with a different value. But it has a hell of a lot to do with what people think, what they believe, what they know, with knowledge and all of that stuff. And hence, it's all semantics, and it has nothing to do with science. Nothing to do with science. That's the problem with it.
And can I use your stream for a few seconds?
That always frightens me, Peter.
No, Rebecca's in the side chat. Rebecca, I got your email. We can schedule something for after December 8th. That would be great. Thanks for.
You got to talk to Rebecca. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Saves me an email, and it's faster.
Yes. Yep. I have nothing else going on today at all. Like zero. Haven't watched any. Well, I watched videos, but I haven't watched anything that anybody would care
So
about.
we've got self-replicating robots, and you say we have nothing. We've got alive, self-replicating robots.
Well, that's amazing, and a little threatening, and kind of, I'm starting. My blood is going cold just thinking about it right now. So thanks a lot.
Bit intimidating, but
kind of is
exciting.
Exciting if you're like the head of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, wanting to take over the world and control people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Danny. Extension is just sort of like I don't know how to put it, how meaningless it is to say that it has to do with science or that something is extensional, because intentional is pretty meaningless in science, unless you're talking about set theory.
So someone needs to teach feed internet etiquette.
What's that?
When you have a panel, you don't talk to the side chat.
What?
Especially not about that topic.
No, not in this panel. Don't be going all Emily Post on us.
Somebody needs to put Peter in a corner. That's what we need to do. Peter's in a corner now.
Danny, have you at all ever look at me being inappropriate here? Danny, have you ever at all looked at object-oriented programming? Because I can't help but think that what you're talking about is, in any other words, object-oriented kind of concepts.
Physical objects are extensional. What the fuck does that even mean? It's like, yeah, they exist. They're existential. They exist. Anyway, let's see here. Okay. Gurmania.
Grr.
The Bam Hammer. Or you try to take them down? Okay. So Midnight brought this article. What do we got here? Team builds first living robots that can reproduce. What the fuck have they done? What have they done? Oh no! Harvard.
I think I'm going to go join the Amish. We'll see y'all.
Okay, they've created Xenobots assembled from frog cells. Reported. Oh, they started with frog cells. There you go. That rules it out.
Maybe we can all go and start our own Amish community, except stop everything at 1970s levels of technology.
Yeah.
I think maybe we should do that. Would we be safer?
Computer designed and hand-assembled organisms can swim out into their tiny dish, find single cells, gather hundreds of them together, and assemble baby Xenobots inside their Pac-Man-shaped mouth that a few days later become new Xenobots that look and move just like themselves. That's pretty scary. What the fuck?
There's also an offshoot of these, which are quite aggressive and female. They're called Xenobots.
Xenobots. Or Xenobots.
No one gets the reference. Oh my.
I watched the Xeno the Warrior Princess series.
One person gets it.
Okay, yeah, I know. I figured that's what you were talking about. I just couldn't remember the name of the series because you know what? Not that important, Peter. Anyway, let's see. Well, this is pretty cool. Anyway, so I linked this in the side chat, I believe, or in the description. Yep. My man Blackout. No, I didn't. I haven't done it yet. Oh, I'm bad. I thought I did.
The cells have the genome of a frog, but freed from becoming tadpoles.
Pleasantly very different on frogs. Wow, this is cool. What's up, Peter?
No, we have to. Now we have to be careful.
Why?
What was it that Alex Jones said make the frogs gay? I forgot.
Chemtrails?
No, there was a thing. There's an entire song on YouTube makes the freaking frogs gay.
Oh.
So what did you say, Speed? I forgot.
I didn't say anything.
You didn't say anything?
No.
It's a riveting show. I'm glad I joined. There's so much.
I've been trying to figure out how to get out of here since 15 minutes before we went live. So I don't know why.
You need to prepare. You need to have a topic.
I need counseling.
Something to talk about.
I did.
There's plenty to talk about. There's plenty to talk about on my website, topdogshadow.wix.com.
Did you link it in the? Did you link it again in the side chat, seeing as how you mentioned it?
Apparently,
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones was saying that chemicals are being put in the water by the government to make frogs turn gay, and also us. I guess we're just going to turn us gay eventually.
Yeah. Yep.
It's kind of an extension. Oh, there's that word of the fluoridation conspiracies.
Yes. Well, I'll start worrying the moment Otangelo gets affected, because he would be the transitional species, I guess.
Yeah. So is Bread of Life still in the side chat?
I don't think so.
Could be.
I'm going to send a link to Bread of Life. I need to ask a question or two. Bird. I think we're going to shoot her in the head pretty soon.
He was here 10 minutes ago, but I'm not sure she's still here.
Yeah.
So apparently Icarus is in a location where it's 30 minutes till midnight. Is he in Scotland?
Could be. Yeah.
I thought he was from Scotland. That's Germany.
That means that if you shoot it in the head in 29 minutes, he's not going to be able to join?
If I shoot it in the head right now?
Oh. No. Icarus said...
It's 29 minutes to midnight.
If you shoot it in the head in 28 minutes, he'll not be able to join.
He can't join until after midnight, or he turns into something?
Oh,
scary.
For fuck's sake. You guys are terrible at getting jokes.
Yeah.
If it is 30 minutes until midnight, if you then shoot it in the head in 29 minutes, he won't be able to join the live show.
Right.
He'll be a minute late. A joke doesn't work if you have to explain its speed.
Your point? I don't get it. Okay. What's your point?
Fucking hell.
We're not on today. We're just not with it today. We're not having a good day.
Yeah, it's not our responsibility to get a joke, by the way. Just thinking out loud.
Yep. Just not happening.
Somebody's avoiding writing that paper.
Yep. Yeah, we can't allow that. So we can't.
It's like we're encouraging Danny not to get an education.
Oh, Rebecca's coming.
Oh.
So you can't shoot it in the head?
Oh, God. Why not?
You finished it. Well, congratulations. You want to read it to us?
Icarus, I know for a fact that all my jokes are the best jokes. they're the best jokes.
Yeah.
And in my house, we got two rules. Rule number 1, Peter's always right. Rule number 2, if Peter's not right, immediately apply into rule number 1.
There's another rule. All toddlers think that they have the best jokes too.
Yeah, but they're wrong because I've got them.
Okay, they're wrong. Okay, they're wrong. Anyway, I'm going to trust you, Scott, to keep an eye on the back room in case Rebecca comes in.
Okay, I'm going to put Danny in the panel
I
here
do.
now.
I do want to.
Hey, Danny.
Hello.
What are you doing?
I'm drinking Coke.
Oh no, I was wondering what Scott was doing.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
I let Danny in the room.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I feel it's kind of rude to leave him waiting. I mean, he's had time to put his hat on the hat rack. He's had time to take off his coat and put it in the closet and hang it nicely. And so now it's just time for him to come in.
He's drinking Coke and he's writing a paper. So
you're worried about that he'll fail his philosophy class?
Yes.
I'm not going to talk to Icarus anymore.
Why? Because he's Germanic? No.
Well, you know, but sometimes comedy is worth a few gay frogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This is coming from the one who flew to the sun and then had his wings melt and then fell back to Earth.
Yeah, that was a poor choice.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk, Speed?
No.
Okay.
Gur's here.
Gur's here.
Hello.
Hello, Gur. What do you want?
Grrr.
What do you want, Gur?
$1 million.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah. I heard you. Oh my goodness. I heard some things about you yesterday.
Oh, what's new?
Yeah. Yeah. I was not impressed. Anyway, be better. Be better. Be a better person, Gur.
I don't know. I'm friends with Danny, so it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm just kidding. I love Danny.
Scott, did you understand all the intention, extension stuff?
I think so, and I've got a nice little diagram to look at too.
Yep.
So,
It's probably more easier than it's the easy way to understand it is that intention is about content and meaning. Extension is about reference.
Yeah, I just think of it as abstraction.
Abstractions
like
have content, though, right? Like
object. Object-oriented programming. You create classes with properties. You create methods, and then you instantiate an individual instance.
I still think it's an addition.
An addiction?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Extension is an addition.
Actually, I think mathematics is hyper intentional. Have you ever heard of that, Speed?
Hyper intentional? No.
So you know that, like, so if you think about bachelors are unmarried, that might be some kind of you're giving an intention of bachelor.
You didn't hear it, but I screamed when you said
that. Yeah, me too. Because I used to mute in OBS, so you can't see it on screen.
Yeah. So, anyways, like bachelors are unmarried men. That you're giving an intention of bachelor. Gur is a bachelor. That's an extension, where you're implying, you're attributing a meaning to a referent, or you're denoting something rather. And then hyper intentional. Well, those are going to be certain mathematical truths, like the square root of 9 is 3. And so the idea is that you can know what the 3 is, but not know what the square root of 9, even though they refer to each other or they sort of relate to each other in all possible worlds. So I think that's something to do with hyperintention.
It does depend, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at a paper by Berto.
You can't be a bachelor to a degree.
Sorry, Peter, if you want to talk about something different like penises or something, what do you usually talk about?
Penises will work. Hyperextensional penises.
Especially if you're talking about extension.
It is extremely unsettling that the moment I start talking, Danny starts thinking about penises.
Why is it unsettling?
Hey, has anybody ever?
Actually, when I think about you, Peter, I think of vaginas.
Has anybody ever slammed their?
Considering there are more of those in my house than me, you're not that far off.
Speed, what did you say?
Has anybody ever slammed their? Oh no, Rebecca's here. I can't say that again. I can't say it again.
What did I miss? I didn't.
You don't want to know.
Yeah, now we all need to know, Speed.
Nope.
Come on.
Not doing it. Not doing it. Nope. Rebecca. Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Rebecca.
It's the invite. What are you guys talking about? I was helping
Nothing.
my son for the last 10 minutes.
Hyperintention and penises.
Really adds. I guess you could say it has to do with extensions as well.
Extensions, yeah. Yeah.
I think real quick, we have a little criticism of our show here. Icarus is, I think, implying that we're predictable.
Predictable.
Well, that's because he's obsessed with the show.
He's expecting Randolph to appear.
Yeah, Randolph does appear out of nowhere.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Well, what happened on the show yesterday? Because I saw the thumbnail. It had Danny's face on it. And then I wanted to watch, but I got busy yesterday afternoon, so I didn't get to watch it. So what was that about?
You
should watch it.
No, do not watch it.
Now Speed's afraid.
Started talking about me because I saw that I got a link. You sent me a link.
Yeah,
about an hour into the show.
Yeah, we just said the nicest things about you. We were applauding your we were applauding your grasp of the evolution of chickens and eggs.
That's okay, guys. I can handle it because I know you're wrong about evolution. I don't care how stupid and foolish you guys think I am.
Yeah, no, we're wrong.
Rebecca, I don't think you're stupid
and I don't think you're foolish. I just think you're wrong.
Okay, cool.
Anyway.
Well, let's talk about that.
We could. Rebecca, is Saul Cordova okay?
Why?
Because he hasn't been around for a while. He just disappeared.
Is he alive? Let's just start there.
Maybe he has a life outside of YouTube.
Yeah, is he okay? I'm just worried about.
He's out touching grass.
You know, I mean, the last time I talked to him, he was fine, but it's been probably a week since I've talked to him, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
I think he was so upset about that stream you did about him and me that he just is still crying and.
Oh, okay, good.
Or he has more than one mouse and he's busy.
Anyway, okay.
That has to be the funniest thing that I've ever seen on YouTube.
Well, you know, in this YouTube community, when a person disappears, like somebody could be, like dead or in prison by the McLean Bible Church, and we wouldn't know it for like months and months, right? It's like, I'm wondering if they got him or not. Did they get him?
Speed. It's funny that you say that because I do have a plan that. In case the unfortunate event happens that I just randomly die, I have people. Well, I have my girlfriend has a video that she can upload. That way,
cool.
That way, it wouldn't be just, I wonder where Gur's been. Haven't seen him in months.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, cool. So, yeah, we'd laugh our asses off. Sure.
Especially because I don't really contact a lot of people. And I'm terribly awful at responding.
Yep.
But yeah, just in case.
Well, I got something.
I'll be the one who's actually got the courage. I'll ask Rebecca one of the questions that we asked yesterday.
Okay.
Rebecca,
Yes.
There's a video that is going around right now, which is the one that we reviewed yesterday, and that is which came first, the proto chicken or the proto egg.
You guys what? That's
Yes.
why that video is getting views? Cool.
No. It's going around on Twitter.
That's giving them too much credit.
This is why Jackson Wheat responded to it in some way, and that is why I got in touch with. Yeah, that's why I got in touch with Jackson, and I told Jackson that I met you on here, and that you were a good person to talk to. I mean, usually the creationists we bump into on Twitter aren't the nicest people to talk to. Just saying. You're not one of them. And I think that a conversation between you and Jackson would be a really good conversation.
I've heard that name, Jackson Wheat, but I don't know who that is. I
Weedy
have
Boy?
heard that name a lot. I know you emailed me
Good
about
old
him,
Weedy
Peter,
Boy.
but
Check
is he
on
very big on like is he have a
He
YouTube
has-
channel?
He has a YouTube channel. He's one of the people that Aaron Raw talks to when he needs confirmation on certain things regarding evolution.
Okay.
Leo, you're looking
he's
good. Looking sharp.
He's studying to be an evolutionary biologist. So he wrote a book. It's called "The Rocks Were There," that is countering all the creationist arguments, and they're currently working on part 2.
Cool.
Part 1 is 800 pages.
Oh my god.
I have seen the title to that book somewhere.
I bet you have.
Recently.
It's a lengthy book. It's like how many pages?
Yes, it's a lengthy
800 pages. Yeah, and I think the references are 300 pages with references and. But it seems to be. It seems
co-authored it, and Jackson Wheat helped him.
I'm just so happy somebody responded to that video.
I have a really critical question regarding that video, because in that video you said that we haven't observed something in the reproductive system coming into being. So according to you, is something only valid if we can observe it?
Well, it depends. If you want to call it science, then it should include observation or
what is science
observations that are you should have evidence for it.
What is evidence?
Leo, don't interrupt.
Leo,
hold on. I got something where I want to go because
questions, very pertinent.
Because Rebecca, do you realize what you just said?
I'm not being funny. They are.
No, I know.
I don't know what you're taking from what I said. Please explain.
Well, what you just said basically is that God creating is unscientific.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you agree.
No one observed God creating. We're not. This is not.
It's not a valid explanation, since you disregard that when it comes to evolution.
Okay.
I disagree.
What's your point?
Well, if someone explained something to you and you said it hasn't been observed, that means that you disregard the claim. And I know this because in the video, Dr. Dan replied to you and said, we pretty much, it is a well understood how reproductive systems evolved. And you said it's not.
Exactly. It is not. I mean, I would love to hear the explanation. Go ahead, please show me how.
But have you done the research? Have you researched what we know about the evolution of the reproductive system? If so, how did you research? Where did you go?
Well, you know what? I did a little bit of looking around to see what the evolutionary answer is. I didn't find anything that was a satisfactory answer, but I have not done extensive research. And if there's anyone who has, I'd be happy to read their paper and talk about it on my Examining Evolution channel. So,
but if you haven't done research, how then can you say that we don't know?
Well, I'm looking at what's available as simple explanations with a Google search, and I don't find it. And in fact, I do think I looked. Now, it's been several years since I made that video, but I do believe that before I made that video, I did seek out publications on that topic. And
you're going to love Jackson. I'm just saying, you're going to love Jackson. You need to go look at his channel. It's youtube.com/Jackson Wheat.
Rebecca, do you have a question? So do you think that evolution could be true, but it not be science?
I would say if it was true, it is, well, could it not be science? It could be, it's more of a history, I would say. But if we had good scientific evidence to back it up, then we could call it part of science.
What do you mean when you say scientific evidence? What kind of evidence is that?
Well, like the proposed mechanisms for how evolution occurred, like mutation. Okay, if we had good evidence that organisms mutate and they spontaneously form new systems, new organs that all work together in perfect harmony, if we could demonstrate that, then that would make the evolutionary claims fall into the realm of science. But right now, we don't have anything like that.
Well,
So,
the reason, and I hate to interrupt,
we do.
The reason for that is because larger scale systems like, say, a digestive system or a respiratory system or a reproductive system, as I understand evolution, are not something that just spontaneously forms as an entire system. It's something that is developed piece by piece over a set period of time, ultimately resulting from processes that are at a smaller scale and stochastic changes on those processes that we would refer to as mutations. And as I understand it, though mainly because humans aren't privy to the timescales to observe it at the level that most creationists demand, we haven't been able to observe an entire, say, organic system come into play like that. We certainly have observed that mutations, I mean, I agree to an extent, but, and I know you know this, Peter, when you're talking with some creationists, the scale oftentimes gets shifted.
Okay, but we have observed animals evolving an entirely new digestive system. I'll put the link into the private chat here. I'll put it into.
Are you thinking of the same thing I am? I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Italian wall lizards.
Yep.
Oh, I did a video on that, guys. I did a video on that. Look, that is incredibly bogus. You don't want that? Okay, thank you. I did a video on those lizards, so please check out my video. It's only like 10 minutes long or something. But no, those lizards do not show evolution happening of a digestive system, and you'll see if you watch my video.
Well, if you watch Jackson's video, which is half the time you used, he explains how it is.
I'm curious, like, if there's like some kind of contention between like what Rebecca might call, like, are you making a distinction between like adaptation and evolution, and there being some kind of like boundary between those two?
Well, I mean, it depends how you're defining evolution, because some definitions of evolution I wouldn't have a problem
I think that's
with.
what he's asking you.
Well, what I take evolution to be is a change in allelic frequencies over populations that's passed down. That's what evolution is.
Well,
is understood to be.
Well, when I'm using the term, I'm meaning the idea of organisms starting from a simple, organism, the first organism, and slowly becoming everything that we see today. That's what I mean when I use the term evolution.
So what?
Okay,
Hold on. There's
hold
an
on.
important question. What are some processes that you think might be involved in something like that?
I don't think it can happen. So
Well,
I'm not.
Well then, okay.
I'm
Yes,
just
immutable,
curious.
continue.
I'm
But
curious.
you have a
Peter,
definition,
I just
Rebecca.
got in.
So
I just got in.
can you, Rebecca? You have a definition. Can you expand on the definition then? What does your definition
what do you
entail?
want me to clarify?
I think
So
immutable. Was
you said from simple organisms into everything that we see today.
Into all the organisms that we see
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. So, but how would that happen in your definition?
Why do I need to describe the processes that you guys think happen? Oh, wait, I
Well,
want to go back.
because you're using because.
But first,
Hold on, because you're using your definition. I'm not asking you what our definition is. You said when I use the word evolution, this is the definition that I use. I'm just curious what your definition entails, or is it just a statement that has no meaning at all? Because there should be a mechanism involved even in your definition. You could be wrong about the mechanism. I'm not saying that you have to be right, but what is the mechanism in your definition that would lead from simple organisms into every living organism we see today? How would that work?
I would say that can't happen, but I go with the proposed mechanisms that are currently believed by many people, which are
I have a question.
mutation.
Okay, but then we inherently have an issue, right? Because if the contention is that certain processes can create some things but not other things, like that there's like phase transitions of sorts that are prohibited because certain things are too complex, but you're saying that
it's worse,
that they occur by those mechanisms.
No, it's worse. It's worse. She says it cannot. No, but I want to iterate that. She says it cannot happen. If it cannot happen, then there's no way to explore whether or not it happens. If you already have the conclusion that it can.
We're missing. There's a much broader question that we're missing.
Well, Rebecca, when you say something like evolution can occur by the mechanisms we know, is it also fair to say that those mechanisms are insufficient for the types of complexity we see, like in more complex organisms?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, but then
put it in a very good way. Yep.
Okay, but then with what you just said, right, about if I were to try and explain, I would use those mechanisms. You can't. Because you just conceded those mechanisms aren't sufficient.
Guys,
so there has to be something else.
Don't get caught up in a word game.
Rebecca,
this is a word game.
No, it isn't. Because what we're talking about is we're talking about a scientific theory that's trying to explain things by a set of very specific parameters. And you're saying that doesn't work. That's not sufficient.
Exactly.
So the question obviously becomes, okay, what is it that's missing? And what is it that you're proposing that accounts for that gap? What is it that you have that accounts for this phase transition?
Okay, well,
and keep in mind, it can't be the mechanisms that we're positing.
Right, but I think I mean, I don't know why I have to come up with the gap. Like,
Rebecca,
you guys are wow.
Here's the thing about science.
Okay, do you want to give Leo a chance to get a word in?
Can I get 5 seconds?
Well, yeah, let Immutable go. He's only been in here for like 6 minutes.
We understand that with all scientific theories we have, that theories break down at some fundamental level. But and this isn't an issue just with the creation and evolution debate. This is an issue in modern research. But it's that we understand that there might be issues with types of explanations that we posit. But until we're able to find new mechanisms, until we're able to find better ways of explaining that phenomenon and new data to support that postulation, we can't assert it as fact. We can't say, for instance, that those things are insufficient until they're proven to be, and until there's something else that can replace it.
If you can make the claim that it's insufficient, you know that there is something missing. What we're asking you, Rebecca, is what is missing. You make the claim something's missing.
That's a bad tree.
I know that's supposed to be what she might think. I was trying to show. Wait.
Oh, okay.
I did. What she thinks the evolution tree looks like.
Guys, let
Rebecca
answer. Let Rebecca answer, please, because I think that's an important question.
Well, I'm trying to follow your question because honestly, I think the entire proposal should be discarded completely.
Why?
Why? I don't see why I should have to fill in the mechanisms.
Hold on.
No.
Dude, you guys don't get it.
Hold on.
She has a valid response. Her response is valid.
Rebecca, what specifically, what proposal in evolution do you think is untenable that we can't hold with?
Oh shit.
Leo, are you wanting to stick up for me here? Are
Leo,
you
control yourself.
It's that what they're
I find it frustrating because
but it's missing.
Leo, I find this frustrating because the questions.
Well, why am I the one that has to explain this? That's also a valid response. There was a larger question that I wanted to ask because I think it helps frame how we're talking about this problem. Rebecca said that she thinks that the mechanisms that we posit through which what we see here on the screen happened can't happen. So when you say can't, are you saying that it's logically impossible, or are you saying that it's physically impossible?
I think it's physically impossible.
Why?
In virtue of what is it physically impossible? What are the constraints that show us this, according to the laws of physics, as we understand them, is not a thing that can happen?
Well, I would say it's a couple of things. First is that, there is a tendency toward disorder rather than order.
Wait, hold on. What does that mean?
Well, what I mean is, if I leave out a bowl of soup, okay, we know from our scientific observations what's going to happen to that soup, and there's none of you guys that are going to say that something good is going to form from that soup, no matter how many millions of years it has to sit out on a table.
What is good? When you say something good, I don't.
Well,
what is good?
I don't understand what good means in an
complex
evolutionary
form of
framework.
life. I like what I'm saying is organic,
beneficial.
It's not going to produce life. And we know that from scientific observations over and over ago.
Of course, a bowl of soup isn't going to produce life. It doesn't have the capabilities of producing life. You need entirely different environments to produce life, and you need something that I think that is often left out, especially by young Earth creationists. And I think that they leave it out on purpose because they know if they included it, they'd kind of have to concede the point. You need time. You need the right environments, and you need to give them time. And
you need sun.
We know that's a thing that could have happened.
But Leo, that's the thing is, you presented earlier, you said these, organs and systems, they take a long time. But is that something we have scientifically observed, or is that a belief?
That is something we have scientifically observed in both the fossil record and the genetic record, both of which corroborate each other to a degree of precision that is asinine. If you're trying to argue that there's no way that they could match up, then how do you explain how? I mean, we could almost get rid of the fossil record and use the genetic record, and we could effectively reproduce what the fossil record tells us. We know that these are a variety of processes that have occurred over billions of years. And over that time, they have changed. They've been honed. Functions have changed. Structures have changed. And that has led to changes in the large-scale structures that we see, or changes in what organisms are.
Okay, when we're observing organisms genetically, or when we're observing the fossil record, what is it about that observation that leads you to that conclusion?
The measured change, and
Well,
it's not just the way that we measure change in the fossil record and the way that it lined up with the geological record and the genetic record showing it's that what we can see on the planet is a progression of the planet, and that life has progressed along with it, and they've progressed in tandem. We can measure that. We're capable of observing that by looking into the past, and there are ways that we can look into the past. Ice cores is one. We can look, at geologic columns and what have you. And when we do that, we get a pretty clear picture.
What about the genetic? You said there's something about genetics that leads you, and I'm happy to talk about the fossil record, because I do have a different interpretation of the fossil record. But so I don't come to the same conclusion by looking at the fossil record.
I can help you. I can help you with that, Rebecca.
I want to hear from Leo about the genetics. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to give you an example. So, do you think that according to your DNA, we can establish that your children are your children, that your parents are your parents?
Yes.
Just based off the DNA?
Absolutely.
Can we with that information figure out whether or not your grandparents were your grandparents?
Yes.
Great grandparents?
Probably.
Okay, so
I don't know how far back it works. I mean, this is not an area I know that much about. But I mean,
okay,
I'm not contesting our ability
this is what Leo is saying.
DNA.
This is what Leo is saying. The difference between people who accept evolution and younger creationists is that younger creationists think that there is a limit to how far you can go back.
Exactly.
Geneticists know for a fact that there is no limit as far as you can go back.
Well, it's not that we know for a fact. It's just it's not that we know for a fact that like there aren't. You could think there are limits, but the thing is, when we study things like embryological development, when we study how genetics relates to that process.
I'm just talking about. Hold on.
Can I please finish? Can I please finish the sentence?
Well, keep it to genetics, because if
I am. I'm about to
other things.
I'm about to finish a sentence. Can I please?
Yeah, I'm just pointing out that embryology is not genetics.
No,
literally half of embryology is studying genetics and how Hox genes.
Everything is genetic.
Or certain parts of organisms.
Oh, here we go. Jesus fucking
a friend of mine. Hold on. A friend of mine is an embryologist. You might have heard of him, P.Z. Myers. He would disagree with you.
Right. So he's going to disagree that homeobox genes are responsible for certain patterns we see within genetic development of organisms.
That embryology is part of genetics.
Genetics uses embryology uses genetics, but that gets beyond the original point, right?
Okay, hang on a second. Fuck it.
God, I can't fucking finish a sentence.
I just want to hear Immutable finish what the fuck he was
Shut
gonna
the
say.
fuck
That's
up, all of
I
you.
want.
Leo, keep your fucking side noises to a minimum. Peter, quit fucking interrupting people. God damn it.
I was just asking a question.
Stop it.
God, fuck, I can't.
Stop it. Okay.
This is what atheism does.
I know. God, shit.
That's why I'm a rational human being.
Peter is the worst. I swear.
Immutable is
rational
on.
atheist.
Okay, what I wanted to do is I wanted to steelman Leo's position in the sense that it's not just the fact that organisms change, but it's the fact that they change in certain ways, and that the classification system we use, they always diversify and they always branch in a way that is consistent with what we know about them. And we understand the genetics and how the fossil record relate to each other because we understand via embryology and developmental genetics and things of that nature the relationship that genetics has to how an organism will develop and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also why the genetic record and the fossil record corroborate each other.
And the geologic record and ice core samples.
And the fact that we can apply evolution to work for us.
Yep, I've seen it in labs that are doing it with corn, seed corn and soybean seed.
I've seen it in my meals. I mean, broccoli is a thing.
I mean, it looks like Rebecca wants to reply to that. So,
well, I was just gonna say, there's an intelligence involved with modifying corn, right? It doesn't.
Well, anyway, what do you mean when you
Rebecca?
What I mean is that's people
because the mechanisms are not.
Right?
Well, no, the mechanisms are entirely natural. The outcomes that the mechanisms provide might be selected based on a desire of an agent, but the mechanisms that produce those outcomes are just entirely natural mechanisms. It's the same mechanism. You can take away the agent, and the environment can. And please, Danny, just please don't. And the environment can, in a sense, select for the things instead of an agent.
That's sensible. That's fine.
I'm fucking with
the main difference between what we like with what breeders do and what natural selection does is breeders are interested in very specific traits that an organism has. So they might be interested in the taste that a crop has, or the shape of a kernel, or the color of something, or something.
Color, yep.
Right.
Taste, texture. I mean,
the point is, in artificial selection, humans are honing in on the organism and saying, this thing I want, this thing I don't. Here's the gene that corresponds to it. We're going to change it or have it be more prevalent in next generations and allow nature to take its course with it. What natural selection is doing, on the other hand, is it's using the exact same processes, but what it's doing is it's selecting traits that an organism already has. And it's modifying those traits within subsequent populations based upon what is in the organism's best interest for its survival, for its proliferation into the next generation.
Immutable, what part of God did you not understand?
I'll quote Nietzsche, I think it was, when he said, God was dead and I killed him.
Oh, fucking
I'm not dead, though. What are you talking about? What was he talking about?
I've got a question for Rebecca. So,
sure.
When are we going to let her start answering these questions?
You accept artificial selection. Artificial selection is basically humans changing an environment so that evolution will take place with a desired outcome. That is all we do. We do not change a mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
We use the mechanism that is in place to our advantage. So if you say evolution cannot happen, how did we get broccoli?
I love the way that
not
ended.
the best.
I'm sorry,
Albert or Barbara?
How did we get broccoli?
You know what I love in all you guys' speeches? You give intelligence.
Tell us, Rebecca. How did we get broccoli?
No, you're ascribing intelligent processes that need intelligence to nature, but nature doesn't care.
You're right.
Well,
artificial shit. Jesus Christ! The processes are not.
You're 100% correct.
Reliant on an
artificial
processes are just natural. An agency,
Rebecca, you're
100%
of
those processes.
Okay, Leo and Peter,
Rebecca, you're 100% correct.
You guys have to negotiate before you start fucking talking at the same time.
And can we just do one better and remove Peter from the stream? I'm just
sorry about the
I was under the impression that I had asked the question and I'm replying to her answer. If that is not appropriate speed, please kick me right now.
The issue more so is
I'm a little bit sick and tired of this.
Me so hard.
What isn't appropriate is when both of you are talking at the same time and you don't stop. You have to negotiate your place, right? Can't you do that, the two of you? Or I'm going to kick both of you.
I was under the impression on my channel that's the task of the moderator to sort things out.
So,
boys.
You've been in this channel long enough where you shouldn't have to be.
I shouldn't have to be expecting that someone else.
You shouldn't have to
that
have
someone
somebody,
else.
You shouldn't
That
have
someone
to be
else
in a
has a
conversation.
problem. I shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to be. You shouldn't have to be. You shouldn't have to be in a conversation and interrupt people so much to the point where Speed has to interrupt us both to tell you to shut the hell up.
Hold on. At this point, I was interrupted. So
yeah, nobody cares. The albinos in here.
And how many times have I been interrupted by you when I'm trying to make a point?
Nobody cares about you, sissy. I don't know. I'm just back. Hello.
Oh, if you think I've had it rough, then it's going to be a fucking beat doll. God.
I'll concede my question. We'll have our talk in December, Rebecca. I'll ask my questions.
Is it the broccoli question? I can't keep track because there were like a bunch of questions. You want me to answer the reason I brought up.
The reason I brought up the broccoli is because some creationists are peddling that as a work of God when we know that it's man-made. That is why I brought up the broccoli. And most of the panel might not be aware of this and think that is why it's a funny example. It's actually a quite serious example because it's being peddled as something that God made when we know that that's not the fact, that humans cultivated it from the wild mustard.
Well, no, see,
that is why I brought that up.
No, see, God made broccoli implicitly. He created man, and man created the broccoli. Therefore, God did it implicitly.
So God is nature and natural processes.
God made broccoli specifically, but everything that looks like broccoli in ways that are genetic and morphologically are just coincidental.
Hey, Rebecca, I do have a question.
No question for Rebecca.
If you were convinced that evolution is a thing, would you look at the Bible differently, or would you stop looking at it, period? What would your thoughts be?
Well, I mean, I would certainly have to do some gymnastics for my theology. And I think,
You don't already?
I wouldn't be ready to, completely discard the Bible. But I mean, I would probably try really hard, like some do, to make evolution work with the Bible. But I do think that it, on its face is not really compatible. But that's so. But I
would agree.
I'm So I'm not really. But I'm
Wait,
not
hold on. I'm
making-
sorry. You don't think what's compatible with what?
I don't think that the Bible story about how things came to be is compatible with the story of evolution.
Well,
Have you had Cy-Gart on your channel, Rebecca?
What's that?
Have you had Cy-Gart on your channel?
Wait, hold on. I two people were talking. I couldn't.
And you had Cy-Gart on your channel.
And now two people are talking again.
Okay, wait. Leo's frustrated. What is frustrating you, Leo?
He's not the only one.
I'm trying to run down a line of reasoning with you, and then
that was what I was trying to do, Leo. That doesn't work here.
Yeah, but I wasn't the one that interrupted you.
Beautiful.
Trying to reason people in the process of interrupting another person talking is just the most efficient way to have productive discourse.
I was curious. Have you had Cy-Gart on your channel?
Wow,
Peter?
Who?
Cy-Gart.
Yes, I love Cy-Gart.
But he's a theistic evolutionist.
Yes.
I don't have to agree with him to have him on my channel. If you haven't
No,
noticed, I have a lot of people on my channel that I don't agree with on everything.
No, the reason is because you just answered the previous question. I would have to do some mental gymnastics to fit it into the Bible. So Cy-Gart can fit it into the Bible, being a scientist, knowing about evolution. Do you think he's wrong?
Of course I think he's wrong. But I think he's right about Jesus, and that's what I care about. And I think he's a great scientist. So, I mean, I can think he's wrong about one thing and still have a great respect for him, which I do.
Yeah, because if evolution is true, the whole death came through man practicing free will. You have to look at that completely different.
The thing is,
So can I finish my line of questioning with Rebecca that I was trying to
I
go
was
down
only wanting to
3.5
point out that
minutes
point
ago?
is
No,
sure. Fuck it.
you can't interrupt.
Well, no, I mean, but if you have a quick point, that's fine. I was just asking the question.
The only point I was going to make is that according to the Bible, if you read it literally, death came before man. The Bible highlights that point explicitly. It's that
Wait,
death.
how?
Have you read Genesis?
Not lately, no.
No, I was
So
under.
get back to me when you read
Jesus
the
fuck.
Genesis story, and then I can discuss that with you.
Oh, come on. You know that's bullshit. Just tell me where the fuck it says
Okay, yeah,
that.
look, I don't really want to talk about what Genesis says right now.
I'm curious.
I also had a question.
Lord,
Okay.
holy fucking shit, Jesus fucking Christ!
Can we let Leo go now? Let
Sure.
Leo get it off his chest.
No,
Okay.
can we let
So,
Immutable
we let
make
Peter
his
talk?
point?
Question. You
Let
said
Immutable make his
that you
point.
agree that what essentially
I'm
what
gonna
we
boot
gain
somebody.
through the scientific processes and our scientific methodologies does not align, as it comes to evolution and biology, does not align with what the Bible says. Is that fair?
I think it's fair.
Okay. Glad that you were capable of hearing me through all of that. That's good to know. So I guess the next question is, do you think that we can at least largely rely on scientific processes and scientific methodologies to return
Yes.
accurate and verifiable results?
Yes.
Okay, so when they do that in any given field and it disagrees with what is written down in what is ultimately a collection of probably dozens of different stories that were written thousands of years ago, which do you think is going to be more accurate? What is written in these very ancient texts that have been compiled, or what modern scientific methodologies are telling us?
Well, I would say, and I've said this many times before, I've probably said it on this channel, I view the Bible as a source of truth, and I view science as a source of truth. If those are in conflict, I would have to really wrestle it out, and I would definitely challenge like all my assumptions, and I would have to, that would be a process that I would have to go through. And in fact, that is what I did when I was, faced with this conflict between evolution and the Bible. And I was being presented with evolution as a scientific fact. And so I wanted to discover, is it really a scientific fact? If it is, then I do need to reform my theology or my beliefs, right? And so I did really wrestle with that. But what I realized is that what was being presented to me as a scientific fact was not a fact. And so what I'm saying is I accept both of those as sources of truth. And so I'm not at all denying the importance of science. I don't place the Bible above science. It's just another source of discovering truth about the world. So
are you saying something like that? But you believe that both the Bible and science can deliver you truth, and if you were in a situation where the truths that you were getting from both were somehow in conflict with each other, that's something that you would just have to hash out in the moment and try to figure out which direction to go. Okay, yeah, that's a fair answer.
Well, I think the
Can I
question I
ask
would
a
want to
follow-up
highlight.
question to that?
Swear to fuck God.
I was the one who asked if they could ask a question, but if you want to just interrupt Immutable, go ahead.
I could have sworn maybe it's a delay on my mic, and I'm willing to grant it, but I thought I started to ask a question before you talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you started asking a question. I asked if
So
I could
you
ask
do
a
agree that I started asking a question before you tried to ask your own question?
No.
Thank you. The point I was wanting to ask is, you think first of all, it's fair to say that you think there's something that's either factually incorrect or just the labeling of evolutionary theory as real or factual is a mistake in your interpretation of it. Is that fair to say, Rebecca?
Very fair.
Okay, but so in that case, then I would kind of want to highlight what about evolution is non-factual, or what about like that process is not cutting the cheese for you?
Well, part of it is what Leo said earlier, which is these processes take long periods of time. That is a story. What we need, what I need to see to
What do you
believe
mean by
that
story?
Well, I mean,
what
the,
I
the
mean
fact
is
that it
it's not.
takes. No, go ahead. Make your point.
I
but
love
I
how
want to raise
you
a
how you
counterpoint.
keep interrupting, Immutable. Go carry
Well,
on.
Well, what I mean
I
is
actually interrupted first, but I was asking a legitimate question relating to the discussion, not saying that you haven't
Yeah,
been.
I was going to ask a question related to your discussion, Leo, but
Rebecca, go ahead.
Apparently that's not possible.
No, I think it's
I'll wait
fine.
until it's my turn.
I'm
I'll
also
wait
asking a
until it's
question
my
related
turn.
to Leo's question.
I think we're going to have to.
Mine is really short.
I think we're going to have to pick one person to talk to Rebecca.
Peter, go first.
But so
I have one simple question regarding to what you said to Leo. Regarding to what you said to Leo, you have two things that you think can lead to truth. I have one question. Have you ever come across something that was in conflict with the Bible? You did some research and it turned out that the thing that was in conflict with the Bible was correct, and did you change your position on that? That was my only question.
I would say there's still some things that I have a slight conflict about when it comes to the Bible, but like I can't instantly have the answer to everything. So
No.
I'm not.
You mistook my question.
It
You mistook
doesn't.
my question.
It doesn't automatically like. Look, I've had now many years of experience with God. And many years of experience with the Bible. And so it's not as simple as if I find one small thing in conflict with the Bible, then I'm going to discard all of my experience and all of my beliefs.
You misunderstood my question.
Okay, you're asking, is there a specific instance?
Has there ever been one thing that science provided you an answer for that was in conflict with the Bible, and that after you researched it, turns out that science had it right? And have you accepted that proposition? Has that ever happened?
I don't think so. But I'd have to really think about that. But I mean, honestly, it's kind of a weird question because the Bible is not a science book. So I don't expect it to be in conflict with science. I'm not always looking for it to be in conflict
but I was
with
referring
science.
I was referring to your answer with Leo. It's a while back, which is why I'm a bit frustrated that I couldn't ask it immediately after you made the statement.
Imagine
You said you had two lines that could lead you to truth. One is the Bible, the other is science.
Those aren't the only two lines. Those aren't the only two lines.
No, but in that particular, you said that.
Yes.
I was just curious if at some point there had been an instance where you had taken science over the Bible, and if you could tell us what that was. But I got my answer. Thanks.
Okay.
Can
I also want to say,
go ahead,
guys, for those who are frustrated with like not being able to talk, you guys are all welcome to come on my channel anytime, and we'll have a conversation one-on-one with no interruptions.
I
right.
do
So
want to talk about irreducible complexity because it's
so do I.
Mutable's up.
So Rebecca, you mentioned something about long time scales and how that. Something about interpretation. Do you think that long timescales are a problem when we're trying to interpret like events that have happened in the past, be it like geologically, or trying to find like ancestors to an organism using evolutionary methods or evolutionary principles?
You'll have to be more specific. I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Like, what do you mean long time periods? Like how long?
Millions, hundreds of millions of years.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about things that happened hundreds of millions of years ago, I would say it's much harder to get a scientific answer for that because it is part of history. And so it would take, I mean, it's very hard to talk about things that, could have happened that long ago in scientific terms.
Well,
So-
do you agree that there are reliable ways we can do that we can characterize things that have happened in those timescales or within the vicinity of those timescales?
Well, you'll have to give me specific things because I don't. First of all, you know I'm a young Earth creationist, so I don't.
Well,
believe
sure,
in
but
any of those
let me phrase the question more specifically, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you accept forensics as a valid field of science, that we
Yes.
can in fact look at certain markers that have occurred and determine, that points to this explanation as being most likely. So I would say that certain processes geologically, certain, like for instance, certain compounds that occur through geological processes and geological formations almost act as a way for us to do the same thing with the history of the Earth. There's certain soils and there's certain sediments that contain different isotope ratios and also contain different types of essentially dirt and clays that have specific molecular content that we know only can form in specific areas and under certain conditions. And so in that way, kind of like when I see, like, toss the blanket off, of a dead person and see a stab wound, I can similarly say, oh yeah, well that person was probably stabbed, right? Here's the type of thing that correlates with. So my thing is that you do think there are ways we can unravel things about the past of the Earth, right?
Yes.
So to me that raises the second question of where does the timescale become an issue for you? Because it seems you've said previously that you think some things, like evolution, if it were valid, could do, but some things it can't do. Right? That the explanations might be valid for certain kinds of variation, but not other types of things. So I'm wondering kind of where that what is the implicit boundary here, or where is the point where you can go so far and you can't go any further?
Well, I don't think anything is off limits for scientific inquiry, but it's what do the results actually show? And I would say the data is very mixed on the ways that, the things that we observe about the Earth and that we try to, determine, what processes happened, and the data is the data is mixed. So
what I would ask then, right? You're referring to instances where we can use a quote unquote reliable dating method and end up with wrong ages. But what I would ask is, why is it though that we can use multiple methods for dating different strata, for determining how old some sediment is based upon its magnetic field strength or things like that? And why is it that these methods, which are independent of each other, seem to converge on a general date?
Well, I would challenge that assumption, because I would definitely like to see the scientific research and the data that backs up what you're saying, because I don't think they converge.
The whole of the fossil fuel industry?
Do you think that, well, for instance, like, we can measure certain things like by parent-daughter ratios, like radioisotopes, radioactive materials decay. They go through a long decay chain, and eventually they reach something stable. In certain conditions, certain radiometric dating conditions are possible. We can perform multiple tests that are valid for certain samples of strata. We run those experiments. They give us a certain age of X and X million of years. But we can also do approximations based upon like the structure of the strata that are there, or some other types of things by dating, like with index fossils that might be present in that area. And typically they tend to converge on a roughly similar date. Sometimes you differ by 10 million years or so, but
Well, I would like for what you're saying, I would need specific examples because it's very easy to talk in generalities and to make these huge claims about how all the information goes together. And I haven't done an incredible amount of work on this, but whenever I have been presented with a specific example and I look into it, I always find that there are many assumptions involved and that whatever, there's always guesswork involved. There's
sure,
a
that's
lot
what
of
science
guessing,
is.
but you don't call
What's the
something
problem?
a scientific a fact if it's a guess and you don't have evidence for it. And yet, this is what
Okay,
happens when I read papers about evolution. They start with the assumption that evolution happened, okay,
No.
which is very convenient, and then they you know, if they don't have an answer for something, they're like, well, we don't know how this happened, but we know it happened. And then there's also in many fields there's tons of guesswork, and geology is one of those. There's a lot of guesswork in geology. We can make ideas about how things, this and that structure formed, but it is very hard to actually determine how things happened in the past. So geology, paleontology, paleoanthropology, those are all soft science. And it is.
What about? Hold on. What about those sciences makes them soft, in your opinion? In comparison to things like physics or
they require
Does she mean social?
They require guesswork. They're
Rebecca,
based on. Yeah.
When
can
I'm
I
doing
vote to let Erica have a
sure,
chance to
I
come
just
in?
want to. Yes, Rebecca. When we do things like measuring, like when measuring concentrations of how much plastic is in the air, things like that, that's also guesswork, right? This thing about assumptions being present in science, every scientific field relies on assumptions, right? There's always some margin of error that we're going to have when we go out and collect data and try to form an hypothesis about what process is most likely to accommodate for the thing we observe. I mean,
but if
so I
you
don't
start
see
with the
contention.
assumption that evolution happened, and if that assumption is actually false, then you're gonna be just finding things that confirm something that is false.
I don't think people are doing that. I think when people are digging up a fossil, what we're seeing is, look, clearly there's what appears to be an impression of an organism that has lived sometime in the past, right? What does the remains and the details in this rock tell us about where the organism lived? What does the morphology of the details present in the rock tell us about if this animal, what this animal was most like, and how likely is it that it was related to certain other things that are present in the fossil record and things that currently exist? I don't think we need to assume evolution to do that.
So I just wanted to say that a queen is in here, so she should speak. Erica, you want to talk?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hi, Erica.
Hey, pleasure to meet you formally, Rebecca. Sorry, I'm a little sick today, so you guys will have to be patient with my flu brain.
Yeah,
it's
a pleasure to meet you too. I've seen you around and I've wanted to talk to you, so I'm really glad you're here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to be here. Yeah, my formal training is in primates, so primatology, and I'm a PhD student in paleoanthropology, actually. So, but that being said, I'm happy to dive in on some of this geology stuff because I think there's something really important that I think it needs to be touched on here, and that's that with relation to geology, at least. Geology allows us to, the processes within geology allow us to make some pretty solid predictions about where to find certain things like fossil fuels or precious metals or, things like this. And every single aspect of the energy industry relies on what you would perhaps propose as the assumption of deep time. And they pan out every single day, each and every year. Basin modelers come in and they basically use radiometric dating to assess whether or not a spot's going to be appropriate to drill at. Now, the alternative to this is, okay, well, what if we were to use the assumptions of flood geology? And there have been oil industries. There's been a single, actually, company that attempted to do this called Zion Oil. and they went bankrupt within a year because there was nothing that flood geology could predict. And that really is kind of, as our mutual friend Standing for Truth likes to say, that's the gold standard of science, right? Predictions coming to fruition. And the more predictions come to fruition, the more robust the theory. So in the case of deep time, every single time we fill up our cars with gas, we're validating radiometric dating, which is, of course, itself rooted in the law of radioactive decay, it's just a law in physics. So I think that if what you're grappling with is deep time, I struggle, or I at least have struggled in the past discussing with younger creationists to find anything really to disagree with when it comes to the processes that kind of make our world go round.
I just wanted to add really quickly that anybody who understands capitalism understands perfectly the fact that if these processes did not work in delivering profits, they wouldn't be continually used.
Well, we wouldn't be finding oil or natural gases or coal or
Precious
anything
metals,
like that.
yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And
Well,
that's all done by radiometric dating.
We lost
Now,
Scott Duke. Sorry, go ahead.
I have to totally admit and be honest that I don't know anything about the process that they're using with radiometric dating to locate fossil fuels. But, for me, I will also say that first I want to ask you the question, have you heard and seen that, there's carbon-14? Have you seen the research that's been done that, carbon-14 has been found in those fossil fuels and coal and everything else, diamonds even, that are supposedly millions, or even in the case of diamonds, supposedly billions of years old?
Indeed,
And,
I actually had a long form video diving into the top maybe 15 odd examples that tend to come out of Andrew Snelling or AIG or ICR about the diamond carbon, the carbon in the petrified wood, all of that stuff. And I went back to the original literature to actually look into it. And in every single case, it was either diamonds located near uranium ores, right, where there's massive amounts of contamination, not just to diamonds, but other minerals that are nearby. In the case of the petrified wood, it was water percolation, literally coming down through the cracks in the earth and washing over these, supposed fossils, something that Andrew Snelling, in his assessment of the fossils, even mentions. In the case of the dinosaur bones, it's almost always additional contamination, as in you're finding things like roots boring up through the fossils themselves. And the way that we know that this is likely contamination is that there has, to my knowledge, and I've invested a lot of time in this and looked into, at least, I'm not going to put a number to it, but at least dozens of examples of the carbon-14 findings. And they're always dated near 50,000 years. Now, isn't that strange? The reason that this is interesting is because finding the carbon near 50,000 years, which is about the limit of carbon-14 dating, is one of the biggest red flags for geologists that there is contamination. So why is it that we're not finding any dinosaur bones or diamonds or anything like that dated at 6,000 years or 4,000 years or anything like that? It's always at the maximum limit of carbon-14 dating. And in addition, with those diamonds, the paper that is used to bolster that claim is, fascinatingly enough, a paper that was trying to detect the normal residue background carbon in machines. So it was inappropriately used by Answers in Genesis to actually bolster their idea that there's carbon-14 being found in diamonds. They were actually running that experiment to test specifically for contamination. So it's very frequently. In fact, I can't think of like I said, I've got like a 30-minute video that, I went through every single popular example that I could find. And they're never robust, not a single one of them.
I did want to ask Erica, if I may, really quickly, with the diamonds that are close to uranium deposits, doesn't that have something to do with nitrogen-14? And that, because I know nitrogen-14, I believe, decays into carbon-14.
Yes,
I thought there was the radioactivity had something to do with like the creation of nitrogen-14, which then decays into carbon-14.
Yes, it certainly can, and I can pull up my my old script for that video now, because I'd like to put some of the sources if Rebecca's interested in looking into any of them. But the bottom line of this is that every example that's presented, none of them check off like the actual normal checks and balances that geologists use. Even Snelling undergoes these normal checks and balances in his conventional work. It's only in his creationist literature that you find that he's skirting around the standard procedure. And I've had some geology friends of mine from master's level to PhD level to practicing petroleum geologists look over his work. They'll say the same thing. Why the discrepancy? Why does Snelling change his methods when he's doing the creationist work versus his standard conventional science, where he uses conventional deep timescales?
Intellectual dishonesty. That I can't amount it to anything other than that. He knows that when he publishes the creationist work that this isn't empirical. This isn't, it's
Leo. Well, I'm
not
shocked.
valid.
I'm shocked that you do. I'm shocked that you would make that accusation.
I mean, I think it's more than just an accusation. I think
Can we
can we let
Rebecca reply, Leo? Leo, can we let Rebecca
Yes,
reply?
I'm finished. She is every
Well,
Right.
yeah, Erica, I would love to go over those. I don't know that this would be the context because it would probably take longer than, that we would have in this conversation. But like, I would be happy to read, any of those papers that you think are, showing something that's wrong. You can point out to me what you think is an issue. And I'd really be happy to read those and even do something on my Examining Evolution channel. And I also want to say that, as I've said, like many times, for me, the age of the Earth is not as much of a consideration. I currently believe in young Earth because it happens to go well with my biblical theology. And I think it's the best interpretation of the Bible. However, I think it's much easier to fit in a long age of the Earth into Genesis than it is to fit evolution in. And so I don't really have that big of a problem with long ages, but I don't, the scientific community has kind of lost my, they've lost credibility with me over the evolution topic. So therefore, I don't really trust until, I don't trust like popular media or anything with regard to like science about the age of the Earth, because I feel like they've done me wrong with the evolution topic. So I'm very skeptical. So I don't just believe, I would like to just be able to believe, but I've come to be very skeptical, which is why I still haven't been convinced that young Earth creationism is wrong. But like I said, I don't really have that much of a problem with a long age of the Earth.
Yeah, I mean, Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I interrupted.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I'd be happy to go over, at least the things that I think not just support an old Earth, but actually actively preclude a young Earth, because it's our entire world, our entire modern world relies on the fact that the Earth is indeed old. Like I said, the fossil fuel one to me is just a knockout. If the Earth isn't ancient, none of this should work ever, or at least it should be incredibly sporadic in how often it yields actual results. But if you ask any person, any geologist who's in the petroleum industry, and I would actually encourage you to do so, if you just reach out to someone at maybe a university, or maybe you can find emails on like websites, things like that, and say, how do you do your work? And it always starts with basin modeling, right? So none of that should work, period, if the Earth is young, because they do indeed rely on radioisotopic dating. But it actually is more interesting than that. If that's not straightforward enough, I think another excellent example is to do with the Mid-Atlantic Sea Rift, right? The Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So as you know, let me pull up a little paper here. Mid-Atlantic Ridge. I think this is best to do. I'm a visual learner, so I like to pull up pictures if at all possible. Spee, is it okay if I share my screen? If he's here?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, here, hold on just a sec. Share screen. Okay. Oops.
Man,
All right.
we're losing people left and right. Holy shit.
Can you see this here, this picture?
Yes. Well, I
So
can.
running down the Atlantic, Rebecca, there's this big ridge, right, where seafloor spreading is occurring. This is where two big tectonic plates are pulling apart. And as a result, magma wells up to the surface and cools. And then as the continental plates continue to shift, it gets pulled more and more to the left and right, respectively, and results in this mid-Atlantic ridge. Now, this creates a very interesting prediction for the ancient age of the Earth, right? Because if this is indeed, if radiometric dating works, then the further you move away from the ridge, right, maybe closer to the Horn of Africa or to South America or North America, either way, the older the date should be, right? Because the seafloor, the magma wells up, the continents pull apart, and slowly and slowly and slowly, this rock ends up moving away from the ridge. Now, because of this, if we radiometrically date at any given point along the kind of the x-axis here of the globe, we should find that as you move away from the ridge, dates get older, right? And they should get older in time with how old we think the Earth is. So that's nice. Okay, that's fine and dandy. We can show, yes, indeed, that does show that what's going on is that you get about 150 million years of space along this mid-Atlantic ridge, moving along the x-axis, getting steadily older as you move away. But that's all assumption, right? At least from your point of view, it might be. So how can we double check this? Well, interestingly enough, we can take the rate at which the continents are moving apart now. This is all observational science, right? We can take the rate at which the plates are moving apart now, and we can use satellites to actually pinpoint how fast they are actually moving. And then we can clock it back in time and see if it does indeed match the radiometric dates. So we're basically taking the rate of the continental plate movement and tracking it backwards in time. And sure enough, it matches like within 1% of a percent. So what we've got here is two completely independent lines of evidence: the rate at which the continents are moving apart and radiometric decay of elements within this rock. And both of them confirm that the Earth is at the very least 150 million years old, just working on these plates alone. So to me, this is another, in addition with the fossil fuels, like I've never met a single creationist, young Earth creationist, who can take that on. It's just too coincidental.
And I heard the rate was like fingernail, how they grow.
Yeah, it's about 1 to 1.2 inches a year.
Well, I guess what I would want to look into is there another explanation, not for, like the I can totally get on board with everything you're saying about, the moving apart and, it would be longer, but I guess I would want to understand why we would say that, it's always been the same moving apart. Is there any other explanation for, how we're getting the measurements that could account for it other than the time scales? And I would like to understand exactly how the times, how are these calculations done? So
they have the ripples
I guess you
in
could
the magma.
It's cool because it's just something you can do yourself. I mean, you can look up rates using satellites, right, on your own, and you can see, okay, you can track for maybe 5 or 10 years and say, how fast are the plates actually moving apart? And then you can take a pin and go anywhere along that x-axis of the mid-Atlantic ridge, and you can say, okay, if radiometric dating is right, then we should be able to take the observations of today and clock them backwards, a la uniformitarianism, and it should match, because these two things have nothing to do with each other, the movement of the plates and the decay of the elements within the rock. But they do match. They match verbatim all the way down that line for 150 million years. So that would, I would struggle. The pros struggle, from Snelling to Austin, all of them, I've never seen a single one of them address the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And I got this example from a textbook called, a book called Grand Canyon Monument to an Ancient Earth. And it's written by dozens of geologists, half of them theist and half of them secular. And so they basically came to, and another book I've got to recommend to you is a book called The Bible, Rocks, and Time by Yeardley and Smith. It's written by two Christian geologists. They talk not at all about evolution. It's just about the age of the earth. And what they do is they bring up hundreds of reasons why the earth not just probably isn't, but cannot be young. And so, and while I understand, like you said, that none of that stuff really matters in your opinion, right? Like the earth could be old, evolution is the big sticking point, but
yes,
at least for me, the ancient age of the earth sets the stage, right? Because a lot of this is slow change over time, mutations that happen that the environment then can take advantage of, and then allow certain conditions to proliferate in a population. But that can't happen in short time scales, right? So it's essential that we show that the earth is indeed very ancient, and that came before evolution. Lyell published Principia Geology, I think, something along those lines, and Darwin took it with him on his voyage on the Beagle. So the earth was shown to be ancient before evolution came to the scene. So it's not like the ancient age of the earth is trying to be used to support evolution. That was the age. The age came first.
So instead of all this technical stuff, why don't we talk about stuff like here now, like animals, like the horse and the donkey? Why are they like totally look different, and they're still able to make a animal by,
Well, I think oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Erica.
No, go ahead, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
No, I really don't. I mean, they're very similar animals, so I don't really have a problem with that.
I've got a question kind of bouncing off of that. If that's okay. Sorry, I know I'm kind of monopolizing Rebecca's time now.
No, I want to have you on my channel anytime, please.
We got about 5 minutes left, guys.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I really wanted to ask Rebecca because, I'm a paleoanthropologist, in training, I guess I would say. So I would love to. I'm very interested in your thoughts on human evolution and kind of how what you think about that, and what you know about that, or this, that, and the other thing, because that's kind of my bread and butter. So I'd love to have a chat about that sometime if you got the time.
I would love to. Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, if that's how we can use our time in the last 5 minutes, I mean, to be perfectly honest, Erica, I think, paleoanthropology is just people going out in the dirt, digging up mostly ape skulls, and then calling them human ancestors. And
fight.
I just think it's like I said it a few minutes ago. It's like something that requires a whole lot of guesswork, and I don't see much empirical science coming from that field. So, I mean, if you disagree with that, I mean, I would love to hear your what your perspective is.
No, I don't, that's the field that I work in. So I don't take any offense at all, because, it's a pretty misunderstood field, as it were. Biological anthropology, paleoanthropology, is a subset of bioanth, which tends to include things like forensics, biomechanics, primatology, a bunch of different fields. And, frequently biological anthropologists go on to teach in medical schools, at least osteology, things like that, physiology. But to your point, I think that it's really important to understand where paleoanthropologists are coming from and what the field actually does and says, because it's a very, very simple prediction that human evolution makes, right? This idea that if humans come from some kind of other ape-like ancestor, what we should see in the fossil record is really straightforward. We should see something ape-like that slowly gains more human-like, more anatomically modern human-like traits through geologic time, which is why partially establishing the age of the earth is so important, because radiometric dating is a key piece of the puzzle when it comes to showing, can we show that this change is occurring through time? And I think that paleoanthropology shows that in spades. If I can share my screen really quick here, speed, because I made a.
You can.
Can you guys see this? Oh, oops! I didn't even click share screen. Okay, there you go. Can you see this?
Yep.
So I drew this up myself because I thought the old version was out of date. And this is a series of hominins that are separated by around 7 million years, okay? They're all separated by geologic time, and they all show the slow emergence of more anatomically modern human traits from a more ape-like ancestor. As you can see up here with Sahelanthropus chilensis, it's this critter that's incredibly basal-looking, big brow ridge, big prognathic face. If you go down, you can see from the side view. And this prognathism sticks around, but as we watch through this time period, right now, again, this is the importance of establishing radiometric dating because this is occurring through geologic time, which is the key point here. We slowly see the human traits emerge. The big globular skull, the cranium is increasing, especially down by Homo rudolfensis and Homo habilis. The face gets flatter, the brow ridge disappears, the teeth get smaller. And if I had the postcrania, which I can certainly show that as well, you start to see that these things are bipedal or walking on 2 feet by this one, B, Ardipithecus ramidus. It's already got hips that are human hips. If I can get down here, I can show you what I mean, if it'll actually let me. But the idea is pretty simple and is fulfilled perhaps better than any other lineage. What we do see is slow change over time, showing the disappearance of more ape traits, more apish traits, and the appearance of the human traits, right? This is the foramen magnum position, the hole at the base of the skull that necessitates bipedality. And Sahelanthropus, that first skull that I had on the list, the most primitive one, is already walking on 2 feet. But you can look too at Ardipithecus, which is this individual down, that's Kadaba, which is this individual down here, whose pelvis is human-like. Look at the blade of the ilium. This blade is a human blade. It's Homo. You know, it's very, very necessitative of bipedality. And you might say to yourself, okay, and Sanford and Roop are very keen on doing this in their book Contested Bones. You can also see as well the reduction of the canine teeth, the toe becoming more in line with all of these critters. And the Australopiths display that in spades, as you can see here, right? Which is the odd man out, as Kent Hovind would say here on the top. It's the chimpanzee over here to the left. This one here, number 2, is an Australopithecine, and the human is to the far right. So these things are definitely bipeds, and they're definitely showing slow change over time. So you might say, okay, as Sanford and Roop did, I digress, that instead what's actually happening is these are a mix of human and ape bones. But the problem with that is that a lot of these hominins that we find, and this is the key sticking point that I think absolutely, puts the final nail in the coffin, is that a lot of these are found in articulation. That is to say, they are found still stuck together, joints in place. So we know that these critters, not in all cases, of course, but certainly in the case of Australopithecines like Australopithecus sediba, we know that these critters were not just made of mosaic bones, but the individual bones themselves were mosaics. This is Lucy's femur, and it's almost like to the untrained eye, it just looks like a human femur, but smaller. So for the sake of, to answer your question, right, and the Laetoli footprints too are indeed made by something that wasn't quite human, but certainly not a chimpanzee, not a knuckle walker. But to digress, and I'll stop sharing my screen here. To digress, human evolution's simple prediction is met in spades, no matter where you look in the fossil record. And the questions really boil down to the minutia. Why did we stand upright in the first place? Why did the brain case get big, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, Erica, can you explain how you're dating those skulls?
Oh, yeah, of course. Usually these skulls are not just skulls, all the postcrania.
Right. I'm just going with the skulls because some of the compositions of these are like a toe bone and a skull. So I don't we'd have to address each one individually. I'm just going by the skull chart that you showed.
Yeah, and that's actually why I like to use the skulls for exactly what you're mentioning. Because it's very easy to look at a skull and say, yeah, this is clearly one piece, right? And these things are, by and large, one piece, except maybe with the mandible. So the way that these are dated is usually by volcanic ash. So we can date volcanic ash fairly easily, and it's typically ubiquitous around the area when a volcanic eruption has occurred, right? I would imagine that you would agree that like the dating of the volcano of Pompeii is an accurate date. Would you agree with that?
I have no idea. I have not looked into that.
Oh, okay. Well, for what it's worth, we have a calendar year for when Mount Vesuvius erupted, going back through Roman history. But then we also have our radiometric date, which was done using argon-argon dating, and it matched the calendar day. So argon-argon dating, at least in that sense, is pretty impressive. But with regard to the skulls, it's exactly the same process. You go to these volcanic layers that can sandwich a lot of these skulls on the top and the bottom, and you date both, and that's what gives you this range. That's why you're not going to get it down to a single day. No one would, at least very few, maybe Lee Berger would say that you can get it down that tight. But they tend to be something like 0.9 to 1 million years ago, right? So yeah, there's a pretty hefty range, but that's what makes that chart, in my opinion, so impressive. It's because although there is some overlap, these large gradients of change are completely isolated from one another. As you progress through the geologic column, these new human quote unquote traits appear slowly, and they're fine-tuned by the environments in which they occurred, which you can glean using things like isotopic ratios and stable isotopes in general, things like that.
Hey, boys and girls. I sent the two of you a joint email so you can get together.
Cool.
I hope that's okay. Hope that's okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I had fun. I'm sorry I monologued at you, Rebecca. I tend to do that. You got to just yell at me and tell me to shut up.
Yep.
Well,
It's great.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Nice talking.
Everybody
with you all.
learns when you monologue,
Look forward to
Erica.
talk again.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Don't forget.
Nobody
to
learns
my
when you
forum,
do, though.
my forum stuff.
We're gonna shoot it in the head. What do you think?
Speed. Before we shoot it in the head, can we go to a 1 minute commercial break? I will not disappoint you.
Oh, you better not. Okay, you better be good, Peter.
I'm good.
Okay, problem.
Just make me full screen. That's all.
Oh, this always scares me. Rebecca, look away.
No, Rebecca, look.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Encore.
Encore. Okay. Those two guys are
full screen.
And Peter,
really,
I'm sorry
really
we
nice
didn't
guys.
get. Peter, I'm sorry we didn't get to your paper that you wanted to show about the evolution.
No problem. No problem at all.
sexual
I'm really
reproduction.
looking.
Let's do that sometime.
I'm really looking forward to having a conversation with you, and after we've done that on your channel, I really want you to come on my channel as well for a conversation, and I'll set one up with between you and Jackson on Jackson's channel, which will also be a really good one. So
Cool.
I'll help you. I'll help you get known.
Thank you.
Okay, boys and girls.
One way I can help her get known is I
leaving.
relate her to that girl from Kingsman 2.
Goodbye, guys.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.
Stay
cruel
curious.
world.
Bye. Don't watch this channel. Buy the book.
Oh, I didn't end it.